I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're looking for more information on any of our sponsors, or perhaps you want to hear a replay of a past show, make sure to visit thedavidpollockshow.com. There, you'll also find our latest articles, links to our social media, and opportunities to become a sponsor yourself. So remember to visit thedavidpollockshow.com. Hey friends, David Pollock here. If you're craving the best soft serve ice cream around, Topper's Creamery's got you covered. Serving the Apopka community for over a decade, Topper's is known for the finest old-fashioned custard-style soft-serve ice cream in a variety of flavors, from their French vanilla bean to exciting specials like German chocolate cake. But the experience doesn't end there. Be sure to grab a fresh baked waffle cone or a sundae topped with my favorite, the fresh baked brownies. They even offer pup cups for your four-legged friends. So hurry in to Topper's Creamery in Apopka, South 512 Hunt Club Road. Make sure to tell them David sent you.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad.
Wait a minute. You ain't heard nothing yet. Wait a minute, I tell you.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Welcome to the David Pollock Show.
I'm not going to take it anymore!
Everything is awesome. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Everything is awesome when you're living out a dream. Living out a dream.
Welcome to another exciting David Pollock Show. It's like a stimulus check for America's mind, and it's not costing the taxpayers a dime. So welcome back to the show. Do we have an exciting show for you? Tonight, we're going to be talking about Trump, the Bidens, and UFOs. I should have had the X-Files song queued up there. We missed the opportunity there. Look, it's what everybody's talking about. I mean, they added 3 indictments now to superseding indictments to this federal case against Trump down in Florida. The January 6th case is still looming any day now. Apparently, Trump on Truth Social said the grand jury is expected to pass down an indictment any day, even though they've denied that being the case. Secret Service is preparing for it, so clearly they're getting ready for an indictment. Maybe it'll come on a Tuesday after the show, like every other indictment seems to come. Fulton County is gearing up, and actually today, there was a ruling that just came down where Trump's attorneys were trying to get the prosecutor, the district attorney, Fani Willis, off of the case, and they blocked that. So she will still remain involved. And the idea there is that essentially they haven't indicted him yet. And so they're not interfering or intervening before the case. But guys, that Georgia case has me concerned. And I'll tell you, it's Fulton County. We all know what happened in Fulton County in 2020, allegedly. That's the very basis in which he's being potentially indicted in Georgia for, questioning the outcome. Fulton County, you guys might remember that. It was like midnight. Trump's way ahead. Of course, I'm not leading any conclusions here. Trump's way ahead. A water main breaks or something. Some kind of power outage maybe somewhere else. All of a sudden, we have to close down Fulton County and all these other polling stations. And then there was video with those suitcases of ballots being dragged out from under a table. Don't know what happened to those. And, some interesting stuff going on there. So what makes me concerned about Fulton County is this isn't a place that we can trust. I don't imagine they'll be as nice to him as they were in New York. I assume they're going to try to give him that booking picture. They're really going to want to have the full value of that indictment. Something you might not know, Fulton County is under a civil rights investigation because their jails are overcrowded and unsanitary. Now, I don't know. Bad things happen when people go to jail, and I'm not saying they'll send Trump to jail and he'll have Secret Service around him. But boy, that's starting to sound like a cover story. An historically damaged jail and something bad happens to Trump. I'm worried about Fulton County. I think they're going to get an indictment for him. I think they're going to try to convict him there. If they don't remove the case out of Fulton County, he's not going to have a partial jury there. And whether or not he actually will serve time for it, or who knows what will happen in that case. But look, we all know that all of these indictments, the subsequent indictments, I'm going to talk about this a lot in the second half of the show. I'm just leading it up to you right now. But all of these indictments are all for one purpose, and we all know it. I mean, every one of them rolls your eyes. And I'll go through our latest poll numbers to show you how much you do not care about these indictments that are actually helping Trump. So we're going to talk about that in the second half of the show. We'll also talk about Hunter Biden's sweetheart deal falling apart and all that fun stuff. That's coming up later in the show. And of course, we also have to talk about that closed door hearing on Capitol Hill with Devin Archer. A lot of speculation with whether or not he was given that testimony, and there's some things coming out, and I'll share that with you in the second half of the show. But for the first half of this show, we're going to talk about aliens. That's right, folks. It's 2023. Whistleblowers are testifying in front of Congress, telling them that there are aliens. That's right. Captured spacecraft, captured aliens. And the United States government has it all. And we just are now being told about it by these whistleblowers. And people are still talking about Biden and Hunter and Trump and indictments. And guys, they're aliens. This should be a bigger deal, right? I mean, I could just imagine the mothership floating over. There could be like maybe a press conference at the White House on the lawn or something. Joe Biden is wandering around. His dogs are chasing Secret Service agents, biting them in the ankles, commander and general or whatever the other one's name is. They all bite people. I'm sure Joe Biden bites people too. It might not even be the dogs. They may be getting bit by Joe, and they're just saying it's the dogs. But here's the deal. An alien spaceship can fly over the lawn of a press conference, and the first question they would shout would be about Hunter or about Trump. They wouldn't even care. And so I'm going to play some audio for you, Gabe. This is going to be cut one, about some of the things that were said at this UFO, or they call them UAPs. But guys, just like Pluto isn't a planet, but I still call it a planet. They might not be UFOs anymore, but they're still UFOs, okay? They call them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. But anyway, cut one, Gabe.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General.
Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured. And
You're that?
activity, and I got
By UAPs or by people within the federal government?
both.
If you were me,
Aliens and
where would
feds
you
hurt
look?
people. Listen up.
Titles, programs,
That's AOC, by the way.
departments.
I'd be happy to give you that in a closed environment. I can tell you specifically.
And I would say, and I've told people that you have to know where to look. They're not going to divulge it to you because of the classification levels. But if you know where to look and who to talk to, which is exactly what Mr. Grush can point you, then you have them.
You hear that? So there you have it, guys. And I have more clips that I'm going to share with you from that hearing. It's fascinating. It was 2 hours and 30-something minutes of these three whistleblowers, pilots and people familiar with I guess UFO stuff, basically telling everybody on Congress that they're aliens. And the beef they had essentially was, why is this outside of the appropriations process? Why don't we know about these aliens? And why? And is there congressional oversight? That was the big issue they were having, is why is all this happening without congressional oversight? What I find very interesting, and you know what? Pause there. Gabe, let's take cut 3 real quick if you have it queued up. This talks about how they fund these things. Yeah, and that's sort of what the heart of the issue is, why Congress cares. And this is
As a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
Mr. Grush, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself about ATs, advanced technologies that the U.S. government
It's kind of a
has?
long clip, but it's interesting.
Based on conventional advanced tech, I was briefed to the preponderance of the Defense Department's both space and aerospace compartmented programs. Yeah.
Do you have knowledge or do you have reason to believe that there are programs in the advanced tech space that are unsanctioned?
Unsanctioned.
Yes, I do.
Happening outside of the purview of
And when you
Congress.
say that they're above congressional oversight, what do you mean?
Complicated question. So there's, some, I would call it abuse here. So congressional oversight of conventional special access programs. So I'll use Title 10, so DOD as an example, right? So 10 U.S. Code Section 119 discusses congressional oversight of SAPs, discusses the DepSecDef's ability to waive congressional reporting. However, the Gang of Eight is at least supposed to be notified if waived or waived big.
And that's the issue here. They're not telling
is,
people in
created, and
Congress
that's
about this.
public law.
Well, so that how does, I mean, I
Listen
don't
to
want to
this.
cut you off, but
Yeah.
how does a program like that get funded?
I will give you generalities. I can get very specific in a closed session, but a misappropriation of funds and
Hear that?
Does that mean
self-fund.
that, does that mean that there is money in the budget that is said to go to a program, but it doesn't, and it goes to something else?
Yes, I have specific knowledge of that.
You can
Yep.
cut it
Do
there,
you
Gabe.
think U.S. corporations are overcharging?
You hear this, guys? So what Congress's issue is, guys, we're not funding this program specifically. We don't know about it. We're completely, this is an entire organization. You talk about the deep state, right? What you're hearing and whistleblowers testifying that there is a deep state and they have aliens, and aliens have hurt people, and the United States government has hurt people protecting this secret, according to these whistleblowers. Not only that, this program is funded through companies that do business with the United States government, overcharging for things, and then giving that money back to these black ops types programs, guys. When $6 billion goes missing in Ukraine, is this where the money is going? So here's the question. And I find it fascinating that this isn't a bipartisan. I mean, this seems to be a bipartisan issue. Like you heard, AOC was just as curious about this as some of the Republicans were. And, so the question is this, right? Are these things United States government technology, and they're being funded because we don't want people to know, or our adversaries know what we're doing? So they're kind of making it seem as if there are UFOs flying around out there, but they're not really UFOs, but it's kind of a smokescreen so our enemies don't know what we have, potentially. Are they really here? Potentially. Or, and here's a lot of things people are saying, guys, this is a distraction. All the stuff that's going on in Washington with Joe Biden and Trump and all these political persecutions, this alien stuff is a distraction, potentially. And that theory kind of makes sense. I'm going to tell you why. Whistleblowers, right? Talking about aliens, little green men. And the Democrats have no problem with this line of questioning when Republicans are in charge of Congress. When have Democrats ever gone along with anything that Republicans did, regardless? You remember we talked about the sound of freedom, and we talked about how somehow that became a partisan issue. And Democrats were speaking out against somehow awareness for sex trafficking with minors. I don't understand how that became political. Aliens certainly should become political, but they haven't. So are they trying to maybe use people's disbelief to discredit the idea of whistleblowers? Because let's talk about what's happening right now with whistleblowers. We talked about the whistleblower talking about Hunter Biden dealings. Maybe they're trying to take the two whistleblowers previously that were credited with making that sweetheart deal fall apart. Do you think maybe this is part of the same government that's going after Trump to try to discredit the whistleblowers that are trying to go after Biden? Who knows? It's possible. We're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, I have longtime Army Aviator Chuck Nadd coming on the show. He's flown airplanes for the U.S. government. I want to know what he thinks, if he's seen any aliens, what he thinks about the possibility of them existing. And Top Gun is perfect for this, by the way. And so we'll talk about that right after break. So do not go anywhere. The David Pollitt Show will be right back.
With today's economic environment, it's never been more important to secure your hard-earned wealth for you and your family's future. FinSec Life works to offer industry-leading customer service to help successful individuals and businesses protect their wealth. Whether it's a business succession plan, estate liquidity, or a variety of life and long-term care policies, FinSec Life can help deliver peace of mind, knowing that if something happens, you or your company is taken care of. Visit finseclife.com. That's FINSEC life.com. Securities offered through Valmark Security Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Valmark Advisors Inc., an SEC registered investment advisor. FinSec Life is a separate entity from Valmark Securities Inc. and Valmark Advisors Inc.
Now it's time for your Mortgage Minute, brought to you by the Joe Onifrey Mortgage Team.
Hey guys, Joe Onifrey here with Novus Home Mortgage. Are you in the market to buy a new home? Whether you're a first-time home buyer looking for down payment assistance or a seasoned home buyer looking to sell and buy a new, we can add clarity to the horrible job the media plays in what we really have going on in our markets. With an in-depth mortgage consultation, you'll feel more confident in how to navigate the perceived complexities of our real estate marketplace. We offer all forms of financing, including non-traditional lending options. Are you self-employed and wish you could provide bank statements to prove your income? We offer that program. So stop waiting for the perfect time and give us a call today. 407-720-8514 or go to lenderjoe.com and book a call that works for you. Joe Onifrey, Novus Home Mortgage, NMLS number 1473557.
My first question to you right off the top, how close are we to seeing visual evidence, photos, videos? You know, Americans have heard the claims, the whistleblowers' allegations of government UFO programs. We've heard from lawmakers like yourself, Senator Marco Rubio, but people are ready for visual proof. Where is it?
Yeah. Well, it's out there. If you'll go on YouTube and watch Tic Tac video, it's just Google it, Tic Tac video. They've had a special on 60 Minutes. It's been covered in some of the major news outlets, mainly the printed medium, not so much the visual medium like yourselves. And it basically shows a craft that they are chasing, that are Navy pilots. These are the best in the world, and it's audio and visual. In video, and you hear them saying, you know, these guys, they're just laughing because they can't keep up with them, and it looks like a little Tic Tac candy.
Okay, so it's Tic Tac, not TikTok. Just to confirm.
No, cut it there, Gabe.
Everybody always says, hey.
You see, I'm glad he was able to explain, because when I first heard that video too, I'm like, oh man, here's another boomer calling TikTok Tic Tac. That TikTok Tic Tac sounds like something Joe Biden would say at a press conference. We need a ban, Tic Tac. That you know the thing, man. Boom, boom. But no, he's talking about those videos, and you guys might remember those videos. That was a really big deal, and they used some kind of new radar that kind of showed these things going around. But why hear it from me? Let's go to some guy who's actually one of those pilots that the congressman was talking about that saw those TikTok Tic Tac. Well, he maybe haven't seen it. I don't know if he has, but he knows what it's like to fly an airplane. Chuck Nadd, welcome back to the David Pollack Show.
Hey, David. Good to be with you.
Thank you so much for being here. So I think you heard me talking about the little green men or whatever color they might be walking around. Oh, man. Could you imagine if they're little green men? The left would have a whole new group of people to go out and say white nationalists are racist against. We're standing up for the little green men. Oh, God forbid. Anyway. So what do you think? You've been in the cockpit of it. In the cockpit of a helicopter and an airplane, and you ever seen any TikTok Tic Tacs?
I have not seen the TikTok Tic Tacs myself, but you know, there is a lot of reports out there, and it kind of makes you wonder what's going on out there, and why. And look, there's a lot of people who are dedicating a lot of time and energy to figuring this out. And you know, something you said a few minutes ago in the last segment I thought was, you know, really interesting. Dave, do you know how much the U.S. Department of Defense spends every day? If you had to just put a number on how much money goes out every day for the Department of Defense.
I'm guessing billions.
Yeah, it's $2.3 billion a day. So I guess, you know, the $842 billion, you divide that by 365. I mean, I think there's an enormous responsibility to be accountable for where that money is going. And, you know, I think there's a lot of people looking into this because there are credible pilots who have seen things and reported things not knowing what they are. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all develops.
Yeah, I mean, and certainly, and I think that was, like I said earlier, that's Congress's beef. It's like we're appropriating all this money that unintentionally to a program that we have no control over. But at the same time, isn't that good for national security, though? I mean, we don't want our adversaries knowing how much we spend on advanced weapon systems. And so certainly the UFO thing has always been the way to kind of have these secret facilities where we test experimental aircraft. And couldn't that be what this is? I mean, look, we're in the age of everything's on video. I mean, there's videos on TikTok, of people eating food in Walmart and things. And I mean, they put everything on video. I mean, even when they work out in the gym, they put it on TikTok. Or they eat a salad, they put it on TikTok.
And some of that food might turn you into a little green man too. So you got to watch out.
Exactly. So knowing that, isn't it possible then that all of this really, because why don't more people see this? Why don't more people see these UAPs? Or is the fact that maybe they're invisible to what we can see, and maybe that's why the radar's picked it up? I mean, why now, all of a sudden, after all the speculation, and again, people always report seeing things, but not a lot of people see it. What do you think? Do you think these are real? Do you think these are coming from another planet or another solar system or somewhere? Or do you think this is really just U.S. stuff, or maybe all a distraction? What do you think?
Look at the frequency with which it's happening. I mean, we do have more things in the air now, right? So people are seeing things at a greater rate because there are more pilots in the sky. So, whether they're a phenomenon that existed previously or is a new technology, I think the one thing that we can say for certain is that there are more pilots in the sky. More people fly commercially than ever before. I mean, it's a new golden age of aviation. You've got more military pilots in the sky. So it's not a coincidence that people are reporting things. And, whatever these anomalies are, I think what everyone agrees is we need to figure out what they are, right? Whether that means that it's our technology that we're going to figure out in a number of years when it comes to light, or if it's an adversaries that we have to figure out as soon as possible. I think everybody can agree that it needs to come to light. And I think there are a lot of people working really hard and dedicating their lives to making that happen.
So I guess so. Do you think what's Chuck Nadd's opinion? Do you think they're really from outside our atmosphere, inside? I mean, what do you think? What do you think they are, based on everything you're hearing?
I don't think so. I think we're seeing something that we can't explain. Who knows if it's a visual illusion or if it's something that we've been able to recover. That without seeing the evidence, it's tough to have a concrete opinion. But certainly, again, it is. I mean, I trust these pilots who are going up and they're saying that they see something, and that's a tangible view.
Yeah.
So I think it's something of this world. I think it's something that we cannot explain, and I think that's why we have our best and brightest minds really, really devoted to figuring out what's going on here.
So I'm gonna play a cut for you, Gabe. This is going to be cut 2, and they describe exactly what these pilots that you're referring to, the things they've seen and reported. This is what they're saying that they saw, and what the things that they did. This is cut 2. Go ahead, Gabe.
How do you know that these were not our aircraft?
Some of the behaviors that we saw in a working area, we would see these objects being at 0.0 Mach, that's 0 airspeed, over certain pieces of the ground. So what that means, just like a river, if you throw a bobber in, it's going to float downstream. These objects were staying completely stationary in Category 4 hurricane winds. These same objects would then accelerate to supersonic speeds, 1.1, 1.2 Mach, and they would do so in very erratic and quick behaviors that I don't have an explanation for.
So there you hear it. That's what they're doing. I mean, they're saying that they don't know that United States government has that technology. I certainly hope our adversaries don't have that technology. I mean, I know China has balloons that can seemingly cross our airspace with no weapons on it and not get shot down until it passes straight through our country over every sensitive military installation. But certainly nothing like that. So based on those descriptions, I mean, that's certainly not anything you've ever seen fly, right?
No, it hasn't. It isn't, and it is. I think the analogy with a bottle in the river is just such a great analogy, right? When you go up in the air, you're going to get pushed in one direction or another, and they, somehow were able to identify that there was no airspeed and a directionless travel, and I mean, it's fascinating, right? There is no explanation, which is why this is a story, and frankly, why so many people who are following it are just so fascinated about it, because there's something that we can't explain. And in an age where, almost everything has been explained in a scientific way, there's a real phenomenon here that we don't have a good answer to yet. And I think that's why it's drawn so much interest, so much fascination. And unfortunately, it's not something that I've personally witnessed myself. But, if what they're describing is true, it's something, again, that we really need to get to the bottom of.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting about it now, so now this bell has been rung. You have whistleblowers saying they've seen these things. You have whistleblowers saying that they know that the government has this technology. They're reverse engineering it. It's out there. So why not come clean at this point? Why not say, if it's not advanced weapons technology owned by the United States, why not come clean and just say, you know what? You guys, you got us. We have these aliens, and what happened in 1950 wasn't a weather balloon. We don't know what they are. We don't know if they're friendly, but we're doing everything to get to the bottom of it. Why not just come clean?
Well, I think there's always a lot of strategy involved in thinking about what you release and what you don't release publicly, right? You see this all the time with criminal cases, when they're trying to catch a serial killer or something like that, right? They don't want to give, too much because maybe they're still trying to figure something out. I think more than anything, it shows that there are a lot of people who are trying to figure this out, right? And who are trying to get to the bottom of it. So if anything, what I get from that is that there is a lot of open questions, not just among the general public, but also the people who are very smart on this and really trying to figure it out. So maybe it's anybody's guess, David. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, would you hazard to guess, what these unworldly bodies are doing?
I mean, look, there's three arguments. One of them is it's ours, and we're just, this is just to keep our enemies guessing. The other one is just a big distraction. These whistleblowers are really just trying to keep you focused on things that they don't want you to see. It's a shiny object. And the other argument that I made is maybe they're trying to discredit whistleblowers and make them look silly. I don't know. I do know that there's Renaissance paintings, and you guys can look this up. This is a real thing. There's in the Renaissance paintings in the 1300s, a lot of the religious paintings that have like depictions of Jesus or Virgin Mary in the sky. Now, the one argument is, these are angels, and a lot of these pictures of angels descending from the heavens. But there's several pictures of Renaissance paintings with what looks like aliens in the sky. So apparently it's been going on for a long time. There's the mysteries about the pyramids. Chuck, I don't think we'll ever know, but it's fun to keep guessing. It's definitely got America's imagination going. Look, I hope we have alien technology and we can take advantage of it, because we need to go and explore our universe. I think we're getting unsettled, and as a result, we're fighting with each other here on Earth. So maybe it'd be good for us to start exploring other planets and moving humanity forward in a united way, so we're not just fighting with each other about politics. That's my hope. But Chuck, thank you so much.
Enemy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully not an enemy, a common friend, right? I don't want to go to war with aliens with better technology.
We can only hope.
Yeah. Well, Chuck, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate having you back, and thank you for your insight. Thank you for your service and your many years flying planes for us and helicopters for us. So thank you for being part of the show.
Thanks so much, David. Always great to talk to you. Great show.
Thank you. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. David Pollack Show will be back right after the break. David Pollack here. I hope you're enjoying the show. If you're looking for more information on any of our sponsors, or perhaps you want to hear a replay of a past show, make sure to visit thedavidpollackshow.com. There you'll also find our latest articles, links to our social media, and opportunities to become a sponsor yourself. So remember to visit thedavidpollackshow.com. Business owners, are you sick of dealing with those big-name telecommunications companies that leave you frustrated with terrible customer service and then lock you into long-term contracts? That's why I want to introduce you to my friends over at Public Telephone Company. They are an industry-leading VoIP provider offering all-in-one business communication solutions that are completely contract-free with competitive pricing. But perhaps the best part, they're all about supporting their customers with U.S.-based customer service, and they're always willing to go the extra mile. Don't let your phone company drive you mad. Call Public Telephone Company today at 877-314-4080 or visit them at publictelephonecompany.com. That's publictelephonecompany.com.
Are you an insurance agent or property manager looking for a reliable and accurate property inspection? Floridian Property Consultants specializes in citizens insurance packages and replacement cost appraisals, so you can get bound quickly easily, and accurately. FPC's experienced inspectors will make sure each assessment meets all the insurance carrier standards while ensuring that you don't pay for more than you need. Work with a company that respects your time and budget as much as you do. Visit online at FloridianPropertyConsultants.com. That's FloridianPropertyConsultants.com.
And welcome back to the David Pollack Show. Look, we got a busy show. We're covering a lot of ground today. But if you want to try to call in, if you can get through, the number's 407-774-8255. Again, the number's 407-774-8255. And if we can get you on the show, we will. We're going to switch gears for a minute. And we're going to, like I talked about at the beginning of the show, we're going to talk about Trump, because that's what people want to talk about. Trump, Biden, and UFOs. We talked about UFOs. Who knows, like I said, what is going on out there? Maybe they're real, maybe they're not. That's for y'all to figure out, not for me to tell you. I just give you the information, and then you decide what to do with it. So, and you can always research things and call in, give us your opinions and all that fun stuff. But now I want to turn to Trump, because, man, the world is becoming an interesting place. As I mentioned earlier, there was superseding indictments added to what was already going on. And this one, alleges essentially that somebody who did security for Trump, and they reference, the boss told me to erase these videos. And it also with respect to something that had to do with Iran. But essentially they're talking about now Trump did these other things that they knew about, by the way, before they did the previous indictment. So why they held this and they're adding indictments now, the people who argue that this is completely a political indictment, this certainly adds fuel to that argument, considering why would the DOJ be adding indictments on issues that they knew about before originally charging him? What was the rush to charge him if they were still investigating things? Why are they adding things now? And in this latest one, they talk about Carlos de Oliveira, basically saying the boss was requesting that he was to delete security camera footage. Now, for you to believe that Trump personally talks to these people and not uses people to talk to him, I don't know. And if you believe what Fulton County is saying, and they're trying to use racketeering as a basis to charge Trump, maybe they're trying to have like associates and kind of shake him up the ladder. I don't know, but it's all very suspicious. But needless to say, and I'll read you guys some polls here, okay? Because polls, what do polls matter, right? If we were to believe the polls leading up to 2016, Hillary Clinton would be president. But we still use polls. I mean, it's still a good snapshot into what people are thinking, even if they are favored one way or the other. But I never believed for a second that polls are slanted towards Trump. So let's talk about what all these indictments mean. Well, for Trump supporters, it seems nothing, because he's leading 27 points over Ron DeSantis. 27 points over Ron DeSantis. That's a lot. If he leads him by 54% to 17%, with no other candidate topping 3% in the support poll, guys. That's a lot. And more than that, you've got to look at these other ones. Mike Pence, 3%, Tim Scott, 3%, Nikki Haley, 3%, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Chris Christie at 2%. I'm interested that Ramaswamy seemed to be gaining for a while. Now he seems to be dropping back a little. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe some excitement fading. But another poll shows that if it was Trump versus DeSantis one-on-one, 62% to 31%, the poll found that people favor Trump over DeSantis. Now, I'm not going to get into yet the DeSantis and all of that controversy. But what I am saying is these indictments are not hurting Trump. And if that was the goal, clearly that's not going to happen. It seems that Trump's base is solidifying around him. These indictments aren't going to change that. So I don't know. They're going to keep trying, just like with 2 impeachments. There, a Mueller investigation to a fake Russia hoax. I mean, you guys got to remember what they put this man through. It hasn't stopped him yet. But you need proof. There was a rally in Pennsylvania over the weekend. Thousands and thousands and thousands waited online in the heat to turn out. They are still supporting Trump. And back on the show is my good friend, Mark Naughton. He's an independent journalist, and he was at that rally. Mark, why don't you tell us what you saw? How's the enthusiasm for our former president? Do you think these indictments are hurting him at all?
So thanks for having me back on.
Welcome back.
David. Yeah, thank you so much. I think I'll go in sort of reverse order. At this point, no. More indictments, the better in terms of his favorability. That's the trend I'm seeing. I've asked the people this question. This is in my opinion. This is I'm given the feedback of interviewing at this point probably close to 100 Trump supporters. And I think you see the commonality of anytime somebody, your friend, your family, some guy in the neighborhood gets indicted, that's automatically a very negative, right?
Yeah.
And I think that two indictments, or of course we're talking separate locations, certainly doesn't look good. But once you hit that 3 mark, right? Once you hit that, you're like, it's almost comical. It's almost it's not even concerning anymore as far as what the indictments are about. But now people say they're just going after him. And now when with 3 or more coming, the people they're no longer paying attention even to the complaints. They just don't believe them.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that before. I mean, they talked about not wanting that New York indictment to be first because it was the weakest one. And maybe that was a good argument because they're like, oh, the Fulton County one's much stronger and that's still coming. And the federal government's still doing, the DOJ is still doing their investigation. And so, yeah, I mean, look, we set it off with the no pun intended, trumped up charges in New York for a business records violation that was escalated to a felony that obviously they're not going to be able to prove that case, but it doesn't matter. It was the first cut, right? And now the second one is here's this indictment that's now up to like 40 counts in South Florida. And then, of course, this DOJ investigation into January 6th, even though there was a whole impeachment that Trump was acquitted. I don't even know if you call it acquitted by the Senate, but he wasn't impeached by the Senate, convicted by the Senate. But we're still going to try to convict the former president in now DC, which, of course, they're trying to get a much more favorable jury, I believe, in that jurisdiction. And then, of course, this potential racketeering case in Fulton County, which seems to be coming down any day. And now with a ruling today that essentially says that the prosecutor doesn't have to step down, I think she'll take this any day. And in Fulton County is not a good forum for Donald Trump. So certainly you're right. And I think the polls, and like you mentioned, I think people are starting to just roll their eyes at it. And I don't care how serious the charges are, whether it's racketeering or I don't even know what they're going to charge him for out of DC. And then, of course, these, failure to turn over documents or obstruction or all these other nonsense charges. People don't care. They don't care. And the more that's good.
I want to hit you with a quote just because, you said, how the people feel. The people were strong there. The support was incredible, but the quote on this topic, he said, and I quote, "Every time I get indicted, I consider it a badge of honor."
Yeah.
Okay. And I think, and the people cheered, they were behind him. I just think it goes to that question. Yeah.
Well, and you interviewed, like you mentioned, 100 people. So, I mean, besides the polls, what do people say about, 1, the indictments, 2, what are they? I'm going to ask you first about the indictments. What is the general consensus then from the people you spoke to?
They talk often about, like I hear it multiple times, about, the days of Stalin and all that time period where, show me the man, I'll show you the crime kind of thing. Of course, I'm butchering it, but that's the point is, remember, in the criminal justice process, quote unquote, you can indict a ham sandwich. Everyone knows this. And, the United States, we've always sort of, we are, had that separation where we didn't target legally political opponents. And that sort of, there was almost so-and-so's above the law, they can't get indicted. Well, now, come full circle, now we're sort of getting that ham sandwich and the public are seeing it. And again, I'm just speaking, after, from context from all these interviews is they're done. It just reminds me of, remember the Twitter files? I read them. They were long. I read them. But after like Twitter files 28, you can't keep up. You have other things in life. So as these indictments come out, as these, new superseding additions and special prosecutors, the people, they're not even interested anymore. They're just writing it off. They don't even want to hear what the quote unquote, probable cause statements and the crimes exist. They're just not interested anymore. They have dug in their heels and they're behind them. It's obvious.
Yeah, and I've talked about this from the very beginning when Trump's first indictment came and what that meant for this country. And a lot of people argue that nobody's above the law. Everybody who commits a crime should be prosecuted and all of these things. But we also heard Comey back when he was determining whether or not to charge Hillary Clinton back in association with the 2016 election saying, I've looked at all, I don't have the quote, but I mean, he looked at everything and considering like he mentioned essentially that the high profileness of the case, he didn't have enough to make him want to charge her. I mean, I don't agree with Comey on a lot of things.
Wasn't that weird?
It was, but at the same time, it kind of made sense. Yeah, it was, but it made sense kind of. Because here's the deal. If Hillary Clinton was indicted in 2016, all the things we're saying about Trump would have been true for people who like Hillary and support Hillary. It would have seemed political. It would have caused people to feel like the justice system isn't fair. And the damage it could have done to the integrity of our justice system wasn't worth going after that. And that's the thing. So, I think the same deference should have been given to Trump here. And I say that always. Look, the things they're charging him with, these are crimes they literally had to go on a fishing expedition for. They had to literally go to the one in New York. They had to invent new causes of action to charge him there. They're doing the same thing in Fulton County. They're doing the same thing with January 6th. And with all these obstruction of justice stuff, they don't even know which documents were classified or were not classified. The way they're shaking down people, the pictures of the boxes that you don't know could or could not be. I mean, everything they're doing here puts so much distrust in the DOJ. And so, you know what? Maybe everybody isn't above the law. Maybe Trump did do things that were improper potentially. I'm not going to prejudge anything. I believe in the rule of law, and I do believe that our judges are going to give Trump a fair shake, hopefully. I don't know, though, with that being said, that any president can have a fair trial anywhere, considering everybody knows who they are, especially somebody as controversial as Trump. But
That's supposed to happen. That's why there's an impeachment process. It's supposed to be of that level. It's supposed to be outside. Can I give you another couple ones?
Yeah.
Here? All right. So when I talked about the crowd reaction, and I've listened in person to several Trump speeches, right? Mar-a-Lago, and then of course Bedminster last month. Post Miami arraignment. Anybody that thinks these speeches aren't involving and that they aren't addressing new hot button topics are not listening to them. They're absolutely evolving. And the unique thing, we talked about crossing that line where you don't go after your political opponents, and where Trump did not go after Hillary Clinton. And even like you said, Comey, even though he laid out basically a probable cause statement, and then he says he's not going after it. Of course, the U.S. attorney could go after, that's their job, but it didn't happen. That is the entire point I think you're definitely making. But here's what he says, right? Republicans get all the info, but they do nothing about it. Of course, he's talking about all the corruption and the crime, and he said any Republican that doesn't act on Democrat fraud should be immediately primaried. And then the final thing he said in the same line was he will appoint a quote real special prosecutor to expose the Biden corruption. That line of statements, that is what invigorated this crowd to the max. That's the most I heard them cheer. Of course, except for the beginning and the end. The crowd, the public, they are now on board with going after political opponents. It's almost like this administration started, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the boomerang effect is certainly not going to be good for the country. Hey, I got to take a quick break. Do you want to stick around for the second or the last half of the show or last segment of the show? All right, cool. Yeah. Stay on the line. Guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, more about Hunter Biden, the sweetheart deal falling apart, more about Trump. We're going to talk about everything that you guys want to talk about. Then maybe we'll get to some of your calls. So stick around. David Pollack Show will be right back.
Did you know that every 40 seconds, someone in the United States suffers a stroke? And every 3 minutes and 14 seconds, someone dies from a stroke. These statistics are staggering, but even more surprising is the fact that stroke can affect people of all ages, with 1 in 7 stroke sufferers being younger than 49. The Scott Cooper Smith Stroke Awareness Foundation is on a mission to spread awareness about stroke in younger individuals. In 2009, Scott Cooper Smith passed away unexpectedly from a stroke at just 32 years old, leaving behind a wife and a child. The foundation was started in his memory to connect stroke sufferers with the resources they need to overcome this devastating condition. If you want to help young families struggling with the impact of stroke, consider making a donation to the Scott Cooper Smith Stroke Awareness Foundation. Together, we can make a difference in the lives of those affected by stroke. Visit strokeawarenessfoundation.org to learn more and donate today. That's strokeawarenessfoundation.org.
Hey friends, David Pollock here. If you're craving the best soft serve ice cream around, Topper's Creamery's got you covered. Serving the Apopka community for over a decade, Topper's is known for the finest old-fashioned custard-style soft-serve ice cream in a variety of flavors, from their French vanilla bean to exciting specials like German chocolate cake. But the experience doesn't end there. Be sure to grab a fresh baked waffle cone or a sundae topped with my favorite, the fresh baked brownies. They even offer pup cups for your four-legged friends. So hurry in to Topper's Creamery in Apopka, South 512 Hunt Club Road. Make sure to tell them David sent you.
Nobody can tell you there's only one song worth singing. They may try and
Welcome back to the final segment of the David Pollock Show. We are covering everything from Trump, the Bidens, and UFOs or UAPs or little green men or whatever. We're talking about it all tonight because that's what you guys are talking about, and it's your show. I just sit here and kind of quarterback it. But it's what you guys want to talk about and listen to, of course. Well, I'm back. Mark Naughton is still with us, independent journalist extraordinaire, and a guy who's been to a lot of Trump events. He's been at Bedminster. He's been to Mar-a-Lago. He's been to this Trump rally. So he knows what people are thinking because he asks them. And so we're going to continue on this idea. What you said right before the break, and it was really interesting that, Trump mentioned appointing a special prosecutor and the crowd went nuts for that. And that's exactly what they're going to want now. Now, Republicans are going to be out for blood when Trump wins because they're going to say, look what they did to you. Like they are calling for the House Republicans to impeach Biden, to impeach all of his secretaries. I mean, there's already a call to do these impeachments now when Trump is reelected. And he's already said he's going to drain the swamp for real. I know he's going to have a challenge doing it, but at least he's already learned the hard lesson from the first few years of administration. That being said, there's going to be a lot of energy out there to really do to them what they've done to us. But here's what I think is going to happen. And I'm interested to get your take on this. Donald Trump has proven, regardless of what people say about Donald Trump, he is America first. That doesn't mean Republican first. That doesn't mean Democrat first. That doesn't mean Trump first. He's always put America first. When he first got into office, when he stood on that stage as his inauguration and said, I am not taking power from one party to the other. We're taking power from them and giving it back to you. Trump is not about Republican stuff or Democrat stuff. He's always been about what's best for America. He hasn't always even been a Republican. So I don't think, and remember, he didn't put Hillary in jail, first of all. Second of all, he tried to do bipartisan infrastructure bills with Democrats. He's tried to work with Democrats. They just refused to work with him. I think if Donald Trump is reelected, and maybe I'm wrong, I think if Donald Trump is reelected, he might appoint those special prosecutors, but I think he will do what's necessary to heal the country and say, look, they came after me, but I'm here anyway. And we're going to stop this nonsense right now. I think he'll clean house at the Justice Department. He'll restore integrity into the Justice Department. But I don't think Trump's going to do what they do because that's not Trump. He's not a tit for tat guy. I do think he will appoint a special prosecutor because the guy keeps his promises, and we can go through all the promises made and promises kept if we have time. But what do you think? Do you think he's going to put people in jail just as they did to him, or do you think he's going to try to, unify the country? What do you think Trump might do in term 2?
Yeah. As a gambling man, I would put money on he won't, right? And that then you say that brings up the question, is he just saying things to get elected? I don't necessarily. I think it's reality, and elections are more complicated than that. The answer is I really don't know. But I'm with you. I think the primary goal is to bring the country together, to have America win, and that shows he doesn't play well with others. But that doesn't mean he has to destroy others and throw them in jail and cause new problems for once he, retires and is out of office, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually completely with you. I think that he'll do what he sees best for the country at the time. If that currently is now, what's best for the country is to say, intend, or put in place a special prosecutor, then he may do that. And don't forget, just appointing one, and just developing probable cause and laying out a criminal indictment doesn't even mean you have to pursue it, right?
Exactly.
You could, show those things, and perhaps that's the sort of quote unquote justice, right? Justice doesn't have to be someone behind bars. So I think that his judgment will kind of guide, where it goes. And I don't think it's going to end up like almost anybody would imagine.
Well, certainly. And that's the thing. I mean, look, and I've said this before. Yes, I'm conservative. And of course, I think these charges are a lot politically motivated. I'm not saying there isn't a basis. I'm going to be clear. I'm not delusional to think that the things they're alleging he did, they don't have. I'm not saying they're completely frivolous. I do think they are really going out of their way, though, to try to bring these claims. And I don't think they feel very good about their chances for success. I do believe that there is an element of political motivation in going out of their way to bring these charges, and that's to hurt Donald Trump. I do believe that. I do believe in our rule of law, though, and I do believe that the judges, hopefully in these cases, will try to do what's right. But that being said, this country will not heal unless we put all of this behind us. Because here's the deal. If Trump is convicted on any of these things and becomes president, and they're, this criminal can't be president. I mean, they could try to impeach him. Certainly that's an option, but I think any Republican that votes for that will be done. But I don't see a way that the country ever moves forward from all of this stuff. This is new territory, indicting former presidents. It's never been done. It's never been done that former presidents' children have been indicted with this Hunter Biden stuff. I'm going to talk about that in a second. This whole idea of a perception of a weaponized Justice Department is not good for the country. And if Democrats or Joe Biden or if any of these people cared about the well-being of this country, they would find a way to make this stuff go away, and they would take on Trump at the ballot box. Because this will not end well for the country one way or the other. Trump is convicted. Everybody that's behind Trump is going to say it was political, and I can't even imagine where it goes from there. If Trump is acquitted, they're going to say that it wasn't fair. They're going to say all these things. They're going to say our Justice Department. I mean, no matter what, there is no way this ends where anybody feels good about it. And this isn't the type of negotiation where anybody walks away a winner. What do you think?
I think there's one way out of this, or potential, and I could be way off the mark, right? I'm not a political expert at all, right? I'm just an observer. But I think that the greatest thing that happened for the country and for these cases and both parties was all these boxes of classified documents, stacked on top of the 67 Stingray in Delaware, okay, in Joe Biden's garage. I think that was great for the country. Why, right? The same thing with Pence had some documents, right. Okay, is that this President Joe Biden had the golden opportunity to, for all the people, for all the indictments and all those special prosecutors and all this stuff, he could have achieved a desired effect, which is make Trump look bad. And then he also could have showed grace and said, look, right or wrong, we all made these mistakes. Why? Because we don't, as presidents and vice presidents, we don't concern ourselves with the protection of these documents. We concern ourselves with the United States of America.
Right.
So, you know what? We got some boxes. Everybody gets a pass. We're going to do better. We're going to,
exactly.
I'll appoint a team, and we'll make sure this never happens again. There is an opportunity. There's a way out of this. I'd be taking that route no matter who I was in this predicament.
I agree. That's the right way. And then maybe, I've said this, maybe Congress needs to look at maybe doing something different with former presidents, because nobody's quote unquote above the law, but at the same time, this is not a circumstance where the criminal justice system can certainly ever really have a successful resolution of this case, as I mentioned. So maybe there needs to be special treatment for former presidents where, I don't know, maybe it is tried in politics and not court, because no matter, Trump can't go to real jail. Trump has secrets in his head There's nowhere. I don't know even how, if he's convicted, what you do with him. You can't send him to jail. You can't lock him up in solitary confinement for the rest of his life. So even if you get the conviction, he could still run for president. The Constitution doesn't preclude it. So I don't even know what the point of all of this is. But let me ask you this. So as I mentioned, people are losing faith, I believe, in our justice system based on these. At least certainly it seems that way. DOJ themselves seem to be acknowledging that people don't trust them. Because if you saw this sweetheart deal fall apart, and if you guys weren't paying attention, at the last minute, last week on Wednesday, Hunter Biden showed up in court, 2 tax charges and a gun charge. It was supposed to be, quote unquote, what they were calling a sweetheart deal. It was supposed to go away, pretrial diversion. But something really interesting happened. And there was some funny business that went on. I don't have time to get into it. But essentially, they were trying to use the gun charge to insulate Hunter Biden from any future prosecution. And the judge basically asked the DOJ, is Hunter still under investigation? And these FARA violations. That's the Foreign Agents Registration Act, that he was not registered as a foreign agent, but doing business overseas. And they said they were still investigating him for that. And there was essentially, this agreement would insulate that. And do you mean for him to not be, prosecuted for it? They said no. And after that, the whole deal fell apart. What they were trying to do was use the gun charge to insulate him from further prosecution. The whole thing got thrown out. And Jim Jordan is crediting the whistleblower testimony to that from happening. But then just the other day, or actually today, behind a closed door, Devin Archer, he told the House Oversight Committee that his former business partner, Hunter Biden, and now Devin Archer is going to be going to jail for his own crimes. He was saying that he's selling the illusion of access to his father, according to a source familiar with the closed door interview. What's interesting about that is the White House has consistently tried to play this off as a private matter. He's a private citizen. But this seems to implicate the president himself. So this isn't a private matter. So as much as they try to avoid it, but here's the thing. The DOJ knew how consequential this could be. They asked the judge, will you supervise the pretrial diversion? Because people don't trust the DOJ to do it because of how political it is. Even the DOJ has recognized the political nature of these prosecutions. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a weird one. The fact that deal broke down, and now you have Devin Archer, and of course everyone's saying, hey, it's not a big deal. It was just a phone call about weather, and he's showing off, and it only happened 30, 40, 50 times. I say, so at absolute best, right? At the best case scenario, that means that President Joe Biden, why he was the vice president while his son is doing dealings across the globe, he takes these 30 or 40 same style phone calls. And again, This is the at best scenario that they're putting forth, is that he doesn't say, hey, son, what are you doing here? Why are you putting me on?
If he even knows, right? 10% for the big guy. Listen, I got to go. But thank you, Mark Naughton, for joining the show. You're welcome back anytime, and keep the articles coming to the DavidPollockShow.com website. Thank you guys so much for joining us. It is an exciting show. Go to the DavidPollockShow.com if you want to watch this or any past episode, and find me on Twitter at The Pollock Show. We'll be doing a live space after this show to get all your comments. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to my guests, and please tune in next week, same time, same place.
AM 950, FM 94.9. The Answer. WORL, Orlando. News Talk Station of the Year. With this SRN News Update.